Okay, so when you hear the term Jyotish expert, what really comes to mind for a lot of people, I think it's probably street side predictions, maybe personal horoscopes.
Yeah, that's the common picture.
But digging into the sources for this deep dive, it became really clear that the reality for, ancient Indian scholars was way more complex and honestly, pretty astonishing.
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge misconception, actually. And it's often pushed by people who've maybe misunderstood or even misused the legacy of these truly great minds.
Right.
The depth of knowledge back then, especially in things like astronomy and mathematics, it just goes so far beyond what most people think.
And that's exactly why today we're taking a deep dive into the extraordinary life and work of Bhaskaracharya. He's this towering figure from ancient India.
Hmm.
Our source material, it's this fascinating mix, really, some historical notes, but also a kind of dramatic retelling. And it pulls back the curtain on a scholar whose real legacy has often been, well, profoundly misunderstood.
Yeah, definitely. So our mission for you, as we kind of unpack this material, is to explore his genius, maybe challenge some of those common assumptions about ancient science that you mentioned,
Right.
and also uncover this deeply personal story behind one of the most important math texts in history.
Get ready for some genuinely surprising insights, I think. It's a journey that connects the cosmos right down to the human heart. Let's maybe start by setting the scene a bit.
Okay, so the sources kick off with this really intriguing encounter. There's this self-proclaimed astrologer, right? And he claims he's descended directly from Bhaskaracharya.
Okay.
Yet he can't seem to manage his own life, his own misfortunes. And that contradiction, right at the start, makes you ask, okay, who was the real Bhaskaracharya then?
Yeah, that definitely grabs your attention. So diving into those sources, what's the first thing that just shatters that initial image?
Well, the sources are super clear. He was not just an astrologer, not in the way we think of it today. He was this celebrated mathematician, a groundbreaking astronomer, even a poet.
A poet, too.
Yeah. And from this really distinguished family line of scholars, names like Trivikram, Bhaskarabat, Govinda, Prabhakar, Manohar are mentioned. His name, sadly, gets misused a lot by people the sources actually call hypocrites.
That distinction feels really important, and the sources also talk about something called the Vedangas. They're described as the limbs of the Vedas. How did these sort of ancient disciplines shape fields like Jyotish?
Right, the Vedangas, they were
Right.
seen as essential, like fundamental to understanding the Vedas properly.
Mm.
And Jyotish, the study of celestial bodies, was considered the eye,
The eye meaning.
meaning it was about seeing,
Yeah.
about understanding the cosmos through observation, through calculation, not just, vague predictions. Then you had Shiksha, phonetics, as the nose, and Vyakarana, grammar, as the mouth.
Ah.
So it underlines that Jyotish, at its core, was an observational and mathematical science, a tool for figuring out cosmic movements. It was deep intellectual work.
So the eye of the Vedas, it implies Jyotish was really about seeing, about understanding, not just fortune telling. That really shifts the perspective on ancient Indian astronomy, doesn't it? Makes it sound much more like a rigorous scientific pursuit.
Exactly. It was rigorous. And yet, for all his incredible work in these complex sciences, Bhaskaracharya's story also has this incredibly tender human side. It really revolves around his daughter, Lilavathi.
Ah, yes, Lilavathi. The sources describe how her mathematical journey began, sort of like a gift from her father.
Yeah, a beautiful beginning. He introduced her to Padiganita, which is basically arithmetic. That was the foundation.
Oh, okay, the basics first. But what really stands out about his grasp of numbers for that time, because the sources seem to emphasize this.
Oh, it was completely revolutionary for the era. He went way beyond just basic counting, like, dash, shot, sahasra, ayuda, 10, 100,000, 10,000.
Right.
The sources say he defined numbers all the way up to Pararda. That's a 1 followed by 17 zeros.
17 zeros.
And he even named numbers up to 1 followed by 53 zeros.
53 zeros. Wow. Just conceptualizing numbers on that scale centuries ago. I mean, when other cultures were maybe still figuring out basic numerals, that really highlights a unique level of abstract thinking, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It says so much about the intellectual climate. But his genius wasn't, just confined to numbers on a page. He also had this incredibly advanced understanding of the cosmos itself.
And what's so fascinating there is his view of the stars. What did he actually propose about them?
Well, he basically said that the stars we see scattered across the night sky are actually big suns, huge, distant suns.
Okay.
And conversely, our own sun, which seems so dominant to us, is really just a small star. It only looks big and bright because it's well, relatively close to Earth.
Yeah.
That was a pretty radical idea back then.
That is radical. And he didn't stop there, right? He also figured out the Earth revolves around the sun.
Yes. And the sources give this fantastic, really easy to grasp analogy. Imagine like a daughter walking around inside our house. The house stays still, right?
Yeah.
But to the daughter walking around, it might feel like the house is moving relative to her. He used that to explain how the Earth moves around the sun, giving us day and night.
That's a brilliant analogy.
Yeah.
So clear.
It really shows his clarity of thought. And this leads us to maybe one of his most stunning concepts,
Right.
gravity.
Ah, yes. Gravity. He completely broke from the traditional ideas, didn't he? Like Earth sitting on elephants, or a giant turtle, or floating on water.
Totally departed from those. He flat out asserted that the Earth is baseless.
Mhm.
The word used is niratar, no foundation needed.
And here's the real kicker, the aha moment for me in the sources. He talks about this attraction power, Akarshan Shakti, within the Earth itself.
Exact.
And this power, he said, pulls all heavy things towards it. That's why things fall down. I mean, that's a remarkably clear description of gravity, centuries and centuries before Newton.
It's astounding. And this wasn't about, like, rejecting faith either. The sources point out it was rooted in the wisdom of Vedic scholars who actually encouraged seeking knowledge through intense intellect.
Right.
It wasn't just about taking refuge in God, as they put it. It was about using your mind, using inquiry, to really understand the universe.
And this is where this story gets so complex and human. Despite all that scientific rigor, Bhaskaracharya's own life takes this really poignant turn. It involves his father and guru, Maheshacharya.
Yes, Maheshacharya had predicted, based on Lilavati's birth chart, that any marriage for her would be inauspicious, that she'd be widowed almost immediately.
And the irony there is just, wow. Bhaskaracharya, the scientist questioning the very foundations of the cosmos, he put complete, unwavering trust in his guru's astrological prediction. He chose not to re-examine the horoscope himself. It just shows such a deeply human side, doesn't it? How personal beliefs can exist right alongside the most rigorous scientific thinking.
It's a powerful contradiction, absolutely. A brilliant mind applying science to the universe, but relying on faith, on trust in such a personal matter. What does that tell us maybe about the human side of even the greatest thinkers, or that complex dance between science and belief in any age?
It's a reminder, I suppose, that intellect and belief aren't always separate boxes. Sometimes deeply held personal trusts coexist even with boundary-pushing science. It feels very relatable, actually.
It does. And so the wedding day for Lilavati arrived.
Yeah, and the sources describe this really dramatic scene. Bhaskaracharya, maybe still trying to control fate, or at least ensure the best timing, he relied on this very precise water clock, a gatika, to pinpoint the exact auspicious moment for the ceremony.
Right, trying to manage the unmanageable, perhaps.
Exactly, but then disaster strikes. A tiny pearl from Lilavati's own nose ring accidentally falls into the gatika.
Oh, no.
And it blocks the little hole at the bottom, so the clock doesn't sync at the right time. The precise auspicious moment is missed, and the marriage ceremony has to be stopped.
It's just heartbreaking. And what follows is Bhaskaracharya's profound regret. He later expressed real sorrow, saying he got caught up in astrology about his daughter's marriage, even though he always prioritized mathematics.
And Lilavati herself.
According to the sources, she showed this incredible acceptance, simply saying her marriage was not meant to be.
Such grace. But this tragic event, it actually sparked something new, didn't it? Bhaskaracharya, filled with this regret, but also resolve, decided he had to compensate Lilavati somehow.
Yes. He resolved to impart all his knowledge to her. Everything. Arithmetic, algebra, geography, astronomy, the whole spectrum.
He clearly held mathematics in incredibly high regard. There's that famous quote, right?
Oh yes, he said, like the crest on a peacock's head and the gem on the hood of a serpent, so is mathematics supreme among all sciences. He saw it as the absolute pinnacle.
Wow. And that deep belief, really born from regret and love for his daughter, it led to a masterpiece. He promised her he'd create a new mathematical treatise.
And to ensure her name lived on forever, he would call it Nilavati.
What an incredible story. An immortal legacy born from such a personal, painful moment.
It truly is. And the story of Bhaskaracharya, as the sources lay it out, stands in such stark contrast to that street astrologer we started with.
Right, the one who claimed lineage but couldn't help himself.
Exactly. It really drives home this powerful philosophical message from the sources.
Right.
What is written in the horoscope and what happens in fate are not necessarily the same.
It feels like it's about agency, about action. There's that proverb the sources mentioned too.
Ah, yes, the one that goes, "He who leaves half to get full gets neither half nor full.
Hmm.
In Hindi, gotta. Yeah, and like a warning against chasing some elusive perfect fate and neglecting what you can actually do, the tangible efforts right in front of you.
Precisely. And ultimately, the sources emphasize the supreme power of karma, of action, and its consequences. They say karma influences even the gods.
How so?
Well, it compels Brahma to create, Vishnu to take avatars, Shiva to wander as a beggar, and the sun to keep traversing the sky day after day. Action is paramount.
That's a powerful framing. So we've seen Bhaskaracharya not just as, a name on a math book cover.
Powerful. But as this true visionary, conceptualizing gravity, mapping cosmic distances, understanding Earth's motion all centuries ago. And his story is such a potent reminder of the human element.
Hmm.
The passion, the pain, the love behind even the most monumental scientific leaps.
It really is. It teaches us so much about, well, the drive for knowledge, that balance between trust and asking hard questions, and ultimately the enduring power of what we choose to do.
And maybe, as you reflect on Bhaskaracharya's journey, we can leave you with a final thought to chew on.
Okay.
In our own world today, overflowing with information, constant predictions, promises, think about what small, maybe unseen distraction or assumption might be stopping you from focusing on the verifiable, the calculable, the truly actionable knowledge right there in front of you.
Hmm. That's a good question. What does it mean for us today to really embrace critical thinking, embrace our intellect, even when it might challenge our own deeply held beliefs or, those comfortable stories we tell ourselves?